Do you like +1/+1 counters? Do you like triggers? Do you like the unspeakable power through cooperation and teamwork of your creatures? Well, I have the deck tech for you. I'm Keys and I've been playing way too much Modern Naya Allies. An aggressive and explosive tribal-based deck that catches your opponent off guard with high-power plays, using a little bit of evasion and protection, as well as some life gain to overwhelm and outpace. While this deck makes some appearances in tournaments, it has its most success on online MTG or modern leagues. It is definitely considered a fringe deck, but god damn is it fun to play. A little bit like goblins, maybe a little bit like merfolk, but, well, it definitely has its own unique feel. We'll be using some of the stronger allies from Zendikar and Worldwake, while also adding in some of the newer allies from Battle for Zendikar. Unfortunately, Oath of the Gatewatch didn't really add much for us, but never mind. This deck isn't insanely popular, so it won't cost you too much compared to your average modern deck. However, if you want the explosive and unpredictable plays that I mentioned earlier, you will need some of these more expensive pieces. As a UK-based YouTube channel, I will be using Magic Card Market for most of my prices. A website I do highly recommend. You should see them displayed on the screen in £sterling. For you Americans, it's a funny currency, similar to Monopoly money, but I will do my best to put little dollar thingies next to them for you America peoples. We begin with the ally that lends the deck its most explosive plays. It has haste and it creates an immense amount of power through triggers when it enters the battlefield. It's the Akoum Battlesinger. Now, you must make sure that your opponent cannot respond to these. Ideally, they be tapped out, because nobody interrupts the pain train. Sounding vulnerable so far? Well, it would be, if it wasn't for this sexy little beautiful piece of cardboard, Kabira Evangel. When Kabira Evangel lands, it will give you a trigger that allows you to pick a protection from colour to give your entire team until end of turn. You can use this, in certain ways, at instant speed to grant your team protection from a colour in response to an opponent's spell. Now this will create some nipple tingling moments when you can one-up your opponent. Lightning Bolt? No. Path to Exile? No. Chainer's Edict? This effect is also your deck's major form of evasion. Your opponent's creatures will not be able to block your creatures if they have protection of that colour's creature. This will allow you to get through blockers and deal maximum damage. Bear in mind, however, that you do not need to name the colour that you want protection from until the trigger resolves. Remember, don't give your opponent any information. Are you liking the sound of the allies so far? Are you disappointed that you can only have a playset of each? Well, for you, we have Jwari Shapeshifter. Jwari Shapeshifter is an awesome ally that will let you copy any other ally that's on the battlefield, assuming there are allies who really want them on the field. This is anything and everything that you want. Another Battlesinger, sure, explosive. Another Kabira Evangel, protective, yeah. A loving and supporting partner who won't destroy your life, confidence, or finances in an effort for vanity and desire? No, that card doesn't exist in Magic. You sausage! Now, let's generate some hot, creamy mana for our mana pool. Harabaz Druid, the ultimate ally mana dork. This guy will let you add to your mana pool equal to the amount of allies that you have in play, any colour of mana of your choice. This will, with the right hands, let you dump everything that you got into the field, which can set up some extremely powerful plays, hopefully killing your opponent. But, well, that's up to you. Make sure that you really punish your opponent for tapping out with this guy. This guy. It's the wrong way. Next is our collection of Battle for Zendikar utility allies. These allies, obviously added in Battle for Zendikar, are the Kor Bladewhirl, the Firemantle Mage, and the Lantern Scout. Now, the Kor Bladewhirl will allow you to maintain aggression against creature-heavy decks, while also not risking trading or losing your creatures, which is not ideal for us in any way, shape or form. Then, with the Firemantle Mage, this allows us a little bit of extra evasion, while also getting around the problem of Kabira Evangel not really working against artifact or colourless creatures. Ulamog is a punk bitch. The main meat of our deck is our counter allies, and no, blue players, not that kind of counter. +1/+1 counters. Now, those particular creatures will not get outclassed as long as they are on the battlefield. They will continue to grow as you play more allies. Even things like your tiny Hada Freeblade will get as big as a 6/7 or 7/8 on turn 4, should you have the right combination of cards. Our only non-vanilla counter ally is the Kazandu Blademaster. This guy allows you to continue maintaining your aggression, continue to attack, while also having some defense that you can hold back because of the vigilance, right? Yeah? And that's the end of our huge list of creatures. Onto the spells. As I've been referencing through this video, you can get your allies in at instant speed. These are your enablers. Turn 1, Aether Vial. Aether Vial allowing you to play your allies at instant speed is a huge advantage to this deck. You can use it for combat tricks in response to enemy spells. You can use it to continuously bring out your hand at a really, really steady pace. And more that I've probably forgotten. But who cares? Well, I care, but you should too. Pro tip, you can use Aether Vial in response to its increasing counter trigger. That way you can play an ally at a lower cost and then keep the Aether Vial growing in counters. Not always relevant, but, well, think about it. Also, you don't have to bring any creatures in when you activate it. I almost forgot about that one, but now you know. An incredibly powerful card coming out of Dragons of Tarkir, and still quite a powerhouse in Standard, is Collected Company. Collected Company will be responsible for some of your most explosive and powerful plays. The real trick is knowing when to use it. Will it be before combat, during combat, in response to an opponent's spell, or at the end of their turn? Well, I do recommend practicing it. Effective use of Collected Company is really key, and not even I, the great Keys, have learnt how to use it well. Well, we're now down to our last two final non-land cards, and you're probably wondering, Keys, where's the interaction? Well, my little magic peasant, I bring you Dromoka's Command. A very fun and versatile card, Dromoka's Command will allow you to, well, blank lightning bolts, pump your creature, destroy your opponent's creatures, and in some cases even disrupt combo decks, well, as long as they're enchantments. The only reason we don't run more is because we want to keep a high consistent amount of creatures in our deck, and also a green and a white for a casting cost can be difficult in a deck that runs 8 colourless non-creature lands, I think. Yeah. Speaking of which, now let's tackle the mana base. One of the nice little boosts that allies received with the release of Battle for Zendikar is the Ally Encampment, a very sexy 5-colour mana producing land that can only be used on allies. It also can be used to bounce an ally creature that you own, and then you can reuse it at a later point. If you need another ally trigger after you draw a land, you can use this. Bounce your Kor Bladewhirl, replay it immediately, get the ally triggers that you need to finish off an opponent. Maximum points if you can use this in combination with Aether Vial for some crazy instant speed hijinks. Cavern of Souls. Drink your control opponent's tears with Cavern of Souls as you cast uncounterable allies. Do not name Ferret with your second Cavern of Souls, because your opponent can punish you for that very funny idea. And to finish off the mana base, we'll be using 2 Arid Mesas, 4 Wooded Footlands, 2 Temple Garden, 1 Sacred Foundry, and 1 Stomping Ground, as well as 2 Plains, 1 Forest, and a Ghost Quarter for quartering ghosts. You may be wondering, where's the blue mana for our Jwari Shapeshifter? Well, I'm afraid we are, I say afraid of, it's pretty good. We are relying solely on our Cavern of Souls and Ally Encampment, and it is pretty consistent, so I wouldn't worry too much. If you are worried, you can change the mana base around, but I don't think you should. Do as you're told. Yes. Our weakest matchups are combo, unfair, and removal-based decks. Taking out our creatures before they have the chance to snowball, very frustrating. Or, well, winning the game before we even have a chance to kill them. What are you going to do? As with all creature-based decks, you are weak to removal in one form or another, which is why you really want to run Return to the Ranks. The value, the staggering value from getting this many allies back into play can be unquantifiable, but do make sure that you keep an eye on your triggers as they're coming in. You might just kill them. haste. The deck runs very little interaction, and the best interaction to bring in if you need to get rid of some pesky threats is Path to Exile, a very, very popular modern staple. Now, you can also, if you do not need to take something out, path your own creature if you're in need of a certain colour of mana. Sometimes you can end up with not having the mana that you need for your entire hand, which can be frustrating. This strategy, however, is not compatible with Return to the Ranks. Do not do this. While Affinity isn't the worst matchup in the world for us, you can always run Stony Silence, which is the most oppressive and satisfying Affinity hate available. If Affinity is a real problem in your meta, you can always run a few Tuk Tuk Scrappers who would be very happy to offer you their services. Not only will it destroy the artifact that you, of your choice, you can also deal an amount of damage to the opponent equal to the amount of allies you control. This will of course help you in your plan of killing them dead. While we have some life gain in the deck, we always have the problem of outracing certain decks that are very aggressive, and you can run an additional Undo Cleric or two. This will help you outrace those aggressive decks, it will help you against burn, it will also try and get you out of reach of Ad Nauseam and Scapeshift and some other combo decks that deal a certain amount of damage when they combo off, since you can gain an exceptional amount of life with the right triggers. If you're finding yourself in your local meta getting into the mid or late game with your deck, you can always add a Kythian ally of Zendikar or two. He's a giant indestructible beater, he has ally ETB triggers every turn, and he can also have a really nice anthem effect. Unfortunately, you cannot hit him with Collect Company, for he is a planeswalker, not a creature, which would be amazing, wouldn't it? But then he wouldn't have his planeswalker abilities. Well, never mind, what are you going to do? As we all know, white is the home of some of the strongest sideboard cards in Modern, and one of those cards is Rest in Peace. Dredge, shut it down. Goryo's Vengeance, shut it down. And Living End, shut it down. If you are having problems with graveyard-based decks, Rest in Peace is the card for you. If you're in need of more help against attrition or control-based decks, you can always run a Eerie Interlude or two. This will help you from having your creatures killed or like a board wipe or anything like that. Also, they will benefit you greatly when they re-enter the battlefield, triggering all your ally triggers again and letting you maintain your momentum and not sacrificing too much. We're not super vulnerable to boggles with protection from colour, life gain and the like, but it's also gratifying to completely blow the holy cheese out of boggles with Back to Nature. Well, you're probably wondering, what do I take out from my main deck in lieu of these sideboard cards? Well, you want to keep your creature count really high, both for consistency and for Collected Company. You can take out some Firemantle Mages, Kor Bladewhirls, Lantern Scouts against decks that use very few creatures. Kabira Evangel has very little use against affinity or colourless decks. Your Firemantle Mages will be better for that. If you have an extra one in your sideboard, that will help you greatly. Collected Companies are far less viable against control decks, because the control decks will be countering nothing. Thanks Aether Vial. Thanks, Collected Company, my bros. So they'll concentrate more on countering your Collected Company, so they are a lot less useful in that particular circumstance. In your opening hand, you'll be hoping for a bunch of allies, a few lands, and ideally one spell, not too many. Anything different from that, too many lands or no allies whatsoever, and you really want to try and mulligan that hand. Again, you'll suffer greatly from too many mulligans, but you are looking for a good explosive hand, depending on your opponent, of course. Do your best to keep your allies alive while applying as much pressure as possible, using your protection and limited interaction to get strong early damage in while keeping your team alive. And there we go. You're in an alliance of allies, an ever-avalanching ally creature base that's designed to destroy the axis of evil under the sheer weight of the allied forces. I won't lie, Allies is definitely one of my favourite modern decks. I do recommend you give it a try. If you do give it a try, or you have, or you already play it, and there is anything that you like about this particular version, or that you think should be changed, leave a comment down below, and I'll always check my comments, see what you guys are thinking. Did you enjoy yourself? Of course you did. Reward me with likes, and comments, and your eternal love in the form of a subscription, and a kiss. I'm Keys, and I've played way too much Modern Naya Allies.